compliments to everybody. Right, I think we're just about ready to get going. Okay, so POPI, POPI, POPI. I'm sure you're all aware of it from my last talk I gave on the subject. Got about 6 months to go until POPI is in full force and effect. They can start giving out fines, start putting people in prison, all of that good stuff. So it's not going away just because we might have forgotten about it. Doesn't mean it is going away. It's certainly coming and coming quite fast. So the first thing is first just to remember, are you changing your mindset around POPI about protecting your data, about protecting your client's data? Very important to remember that going forward. I think the easiest way to basically stay POPI compliant or be POPI compliant in your line of work is just that you need to be using property codes as systems to their fullest extent. Anton's assured me that your CRM systems, treasure map, all of that is already POPI compliant. All the security measures are already in place. As long as you are using those systems, everything is being done by the book and you should have no issues with complying with POPI. I'm going to sort of take a deviation here onto a specific question that came up, WhatsApp. So a lot of you have probably read in the past few days that WhatsApp is changing their privacy policy. It's absolutely true. They are owned by Facebook. And as you know, Facebook makes all of their money off of data collection. So Facebook obviously wants WhatsApp to be profitable for them. What they are doing is altering the WhatsApp privacy policy basically to allow them to collect certain data about what you are doing on WhatsApp. I'll get more specific about what they collect in just a second. But the most important thing to remember about this is two things. The first of all is WhatsApp isn't the devil. It's not the, some people are really blowing this whole thing out of proportion, saying, you know, they're snooping on your chats you're having with your people. They're collecting so much data about you. It's not secure. It's not private. All of that. I think we need to take a logical approach to this and don't believe everything you read online and don't believe people who hype things up like this. And the second thing is, and more importantly, is WhatsApp POPI compliant? I had to have a bit of a think about this one, but through my research and what I've been able to deduce, WhatsApp is going to be compliant with POPI, and your communications that you're going to be having with your clients will be compliant with POPI over WhatsApp for one critical reason. And that's, if you remember the last talk I gave on the subject, I said that just about anything under POPI can be waived with consent. Now with WhatsApp, both of you, your client who you're talking to over WhatsApp and yourself, will have consented to the privacy policy that they are putting in place. You're essentially operating on the same level. So both of you are having the exact same data collected and both of you have consented to be on that platform. February the 8th, if you don't accept the WhatsApp privacy policy, they will quite literally kick you off WhatsApp. You will lose access to, you know, all your chats with the people you've been chatting with. You won't be able to use the platform. It's not that you can accept a higher data collection privacy policy and your client can accept a lower one. Everybody will be on the same playing field. To my mind, that makes any conversations you have on WhatsApp compliant with POPI because you're both playing on the same level. You're both consented to that data collection. So what do they actually collect? I think there might be some rumors spreading around that they're collecting your chats. They are absolutely not collecting the content of the chats you're having with your clients or with your friends. WhatsApp's messages are encrypted end to end, which means that when you send a message from your phone, WhatsApp cannot read or Facebook cannot read the data that is in that chat. They physically are unable to look at the content of what you type or what you send. It goes through WhatsApp servers. It's then sent to your recipient. If it doesn't deliver to your recipient, it stays on WhatsApp servers for about, I think 30 days is the absolute maximum they will keep the message. As soon as it's delivered to your client or your recipient, they delete the message from their server. They don't keep a record of it. That's why anyone who's had the unfortunate experience of losing their phone without a WhatsApp backup will know you actually can't get your chat history back, which is inconvenient, but it's also to protect your privacy. So they definitely can't read the content of your chats, which is very important. Any messaging service that could, I would steer well and clear from. What they can collect and what they can know about your conversations is certain device identifiers, I think, are the big ones. So that's like your unique profile of your phone that you use. And it's the same device identifier that's used on Facebook, that's used on Instagram, that's used on Facebook Messenger, and now it's going to be used on WhatsApp as well. They can collect data about basically who you are talking to and how long you are talking to them, what mobile network you're on, your phone number, your ISP if you're on Wi-Fi, your IP address, your language, time zone, even the battery level of your phone. Now, at the end of the day, this data is nowhere close to how some people are making this out to be and saying they're going to be reading your chats. They are absolutely not going to be reading your chats you have with people. They physically cannot see it. So important to remember that WhatsApp really isn't that bad. Yes, the privacy policy is going a little bit backwards in that they are collecting some more data, but it's not data that's going to breach POPI, and it's not data that's going to impact your day-to-day running of your business. I think moving on. So now some people are trying to move over to these alternatives, Telegram, Signal. For a start, I would stay clear of Telegram because they did start as sort of a privacy-focused endeavor, but everybody has to make money, them included. It's very, very, very expensive to run a massive messaging service like that. It doesn't happen for free, and it doesn't happen on the cheap. So they are actually looking at monetizing and actually rolling out their own advertising platform very soon. So Telegram, to my mind, is sort of a bit of a no-no at this point. In any event, everybody still uses WhatsApp. I don't know many people who use Telegram regularly. I certainly don't. The only real alternative is Signal. Again, not really that many people use Signal. The only advantage Signal has over WhatsApp is that it is more privacy focused. It doesn't collect data, and the metadata around your conversations are encrypted as well. So even if they wanted to collect the data, they can't. At the end of the day, though, the data that WhatsApp is collecting isn't going to affect you, and it isn't going to affect your clients. There's no reason for everybody to get into a mass panic, immediately jump off the platform, try using alternatives. Use what is convenient for you. And for 99.9% of people, what is convenient is WhatsApp. Everybody uses it. Everybody's on it. You can almost guarantee it. So the only real risk then in terms of using WhatsApp for your communications, I would think, is if you have clients who, look, the reality is in South Africa, not a lot of people have access to a computer. A lot of people's computer is quite literally their smartphone. So not many people will have access to a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, and a phone. For a lot of people, their smartphone is the be-all and end-all of what they do. And you can do so much on a smartphone now. You can scan documents, email documents. You can basically run a whole office from a smartphone. They've gotten so advanced. And there's a lot of people who run their business like that, or who do their day-to-day things like that. So that just brings me to another point, and that's, again, data security. Keeping copies of bank statements and IDs and things on your phone or even your laptop is still not a good idea. It presents a massive risk to you that that data is compromised, whether it's through malware on your phone or your laptop, or your device is getting stolen and broken into. That data is valuable, and I think now criminals are starting to wake up to that notion that that kind of data is very valuable. You can buy online IDs for as little as 50 US cents, and that data is able to be sold and traded on the black market like nobody's business. So if a criminal happens on a laptop, not only do they get the value of the device, they get the value of the data that's on there as well. So biggest risk, leaving clients' personal information on your devices. Anton assures me that Treasure Map and all your systems are POPI compliant. They've got the most stringent security protocols in place, which means that as soon as you are done dealing with the data on your phone, it should be uploaded into your CRM system or Treasure Map and only kept there. That means there's a single point of failure, and all the security safeguards that have already been engineered by all the IT buffs are taking care of everything. You should be immediately deleting any personal information that your clients share with you, copies of IDs, copies of bank statements. I know it's very easy for them to scan and just WhatsApp it to you. And most people don't think about that. It's just sort of an automatic response. As soon as you have put it into the necessary system, you should delete it off your phone. That means if your phone or your computer or your tablet gets stolen, gets broken into, there's malware on it, you can be safe in the knowledge that none of your client's personal data is being stolen. And remember, it doesn't just represent a risk for you personally, it represents a risk for the entire Property Cosa firm that you're working for. Because the information regulator might not care that much about Mike Beckley, estate agent who had his phone stolen and his data breached. But as soon as they learn that it's Property Cosa, which is a big name, a big brand, remember, they are going to be wanting to make examples out of everybody. They missed the boat to make examples out of Experian, out of Nedbank, and I can't remember what the latest data breach was. They've missed the boats on that because POPI wasn't in effect. Yeah, it was ABSA. So you don't want to be the one that let the side down, and now they're suddenly targeting Property Cosa because they've learned that an estate agent had their device breached or personal information of the clients was leaked. Keep it to Property Cosa systems, which are POPI compliant, which are securities protocol compliant, and you will have no problem. So, and Anton's also brought to my attention another thing, printing out of documents. This is going to become so important. If you print out a document and you keep it physically, it's the same level of risk, if probably even more so than keeping it digitally. If that document gets lost into the wild, anybody can pick it up, even alter the document to use it for whatever nefarious purposes they've got in mind. Keeping files and reams of printed out documents, of ID copies, of bank statements, of proof of addresses is a massive security risk. As long as you do digitization right, as long as you move your digital records around carefully and you store them securely, digital can actually be a lot more secure than physical paper records. Pretty much anybody can open or break into a filing cabinet and just remove those records. What's even worse, and I've noticed this trend a lot, is printing. If you, someone who likes to print, you want it printed fast, but there's a paper jam, you don't have time to fix it, you walk away, someone else comes and fixes that paper jam. That printer is going to spit out whatever was in the queue, and that might be reams and reams and reams of your client data that's now sitting in the printer for anybody to walk in, pick up, and walk away with. If you're leaving paper records lying around in the office, I'm sure you all trust each other, but it still represents a massive risk that someone is going to go and pick up that data and just walk away with it, and they can do whatever they want with it. You don't know even who is coming into the office sometimes. You can't let that be a risk. And remember, POPI does cover physical paper records. It's still treated as data. It's just stored in a non-digital format. So a physical paper record being removed from an office is a data breach under POPI. And remember, the consequences for a data breach isn't just a fine, and it isn't just a possibility of imprisonment. It's even so far as to make the company make a very public disclosure on all of their social media platforms, all of the platforms they have access to, about what the content of that data breach was. The reputational damage from something like that is absolutely, I can't even put it into words how bad that will be. Yeah. Anton's the compliance officer. So if something like that does happen, he's going to get the short end of the stick, and we wouldn't want that to happen. So remember, data security and taking all steps necessary to reduce the risk, sort of your surface area of your risk, is the absolutely most important thing you need to be doing under POPI. Data breaches are only going to get more common as long as you have taken all the steps you can to minimize the possibility of a data breach happening, then you are in the clear. You have to take reasonable steps, and just remember that the fine is I think it's actually a 10 million Rand fine at the highest level, and I see Anton is falling off his chair, because remember, he's the one who's going to get the short end of the stick if you don't take the steps necessary to secure the data. 10 million Rand fine or 10 years in prison. And we certainly don't want that happening. Okay, I think I've covered the whole debate about WhatsApp. I've covered the debate, just quickly reminding us about security. I'm going to let you all fire away with some questions.
Sean, oh, sorry.
Sorry, Michael. I don't know if it's still the case, but I know in certain copier machines and printers, they keep a hard drive, which is also, if somebody walks out with that thing, it needs to be cleaned oftenly, else they can get hold of your data as well.
Nicolene, you're exactly right. So in a lot of the big industrial copiers, they've got a hard drive or flash storage that keeps, obviously because so many people are sending documents, it has to keep a queue. It can't just print one document then wait for the next. So if someone pulls that hard drive while the data is still on there when it hasn't been printed, then exactly right, they can get access to that hard drive. In terms of cleaning, that should only happen when the hard drive is removed to be destroyed. So what a lot of services are now doing is they are wiping drives magnetically. Basically, if you hold a very strong magnet to a hard drive, it'll just erase everything off of there. And they're even shredding hard drives using these really powerful industrial shredders. That should only need to be done if the hard drive is being replaced or it's failing. Cleaning it and erasing it every single time you print a document is completely unfeasible because it's like a 3-4 hour process to do it properly. So as long as your printing machines are secure, and this is another reason why we need to start thinking about going digital, is exactly right. It is a little bit more of a pretty advanced security attack, but exactly right that if your printer is sitting there in the office, you press print, you forget to go put the job box and collect your printing that night, someone could walk in that night, pull the hard drive, and they have data. And that is, again, a data breach under POPI. So remember that if you're doing printing, please don't leave printing jobs waiting to be printed on your printer. Print, collect. If there's a problem, fix it there and then. Don't wait for someone else to come and clear the paper jam, because your printing is going to print out and you're going to be leaving reams of documents and personal information for someone else to pick up and walk away with. So yeah, I think you do have a point there. It is a little bit of a more advanced security breach, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially if someone knows what they're doing.
Sean, just a scenario where let's say you do a deal, and you've got to keep your records with SARS for 5 years. SARS comes along, does an audit 3 years later, says, no, you owe us money. You object and you end up in court. You're going to need the original document. So if I store that original document in a filing cabinet locked away at my home behind security bars and walls and alarms and all the rest, is that going to be compliant? Is that going to be okay? Because even if I scan it digitally, if I scan it digitally and destroy that document, then I can't go to court because they will look for the original documents. I may be wrong. I don't know. Kerry, maybe you can jump in on that.
I was audited this year and they just accepted everything via email, Michael. So let me look into it. I'll let you know.
Yeah, it's just they audit me every year because they just love my face or something. That if it goes to court, I'm talking about your discovery, then you're going to have original documents.
Look, Mike, we will definitely look into it for you.
Yeah.
But I think the courts are getting a lot more accepting of
Absolutely.
digital documents for this exact reason. So let us look into that for you. But to answer your question, if that is the level you are going to protect originals, I think it would be considered as, POPI says you have to take reasonable steps for your security. So they can't expect you to have, American government level of security, because that would cost, untold millions. I'm still not a fan of paper records insofar as possible. If you are required by law to keep an original for whatever reason, exactly as you said, then it should be behind the most secure systems that you can. Anton is telling me, though, that you're not obliged to keep any originals at all.
Okay.
So the digital records on your system it will be sufficient.
Okay, I'll return the Rottweiler to SPCA then.
And yeah, I think this is another case for even starting to get rid of your printers. Because as soon as that physical document is out in the open, it's actually quite easy to control digital documents, even if they are on your computer, because you can go through everything quickly. You can say, oh, I don't need that anymore. Quickly delete, trash bin, empty trash bin, immediately there. A physical document can be lost so quickly and you don't remember. There's no system to really keep track of it. So I think we really are moving to a fully digital world. The need for printers is really going away.
Sean, it's Rob here, and Anton. So if we forward the client's documents, FICO, IDs, all that sort of stuff, through to Angela, are we then able to go ahead and delete everything from our side?
Absolutely. As long as it's loaded onto your system, and there is a record of it there, and it's been emailed to Angela, she's done what she needs to do, I would absolutely go ahead and delete those documents off your computer if they're saved on your hard drive, off your mail server, because remember, the mail server does keep a record. As long as it's in your inbox, I would delete it off there as well. And your mail server apparently automatically deletes now as well. And especially from your phone, I would immediately delete documents received via WhatsApp or something from your phone as soon as you've put them into your storage system. Cool. Anyone else? Any other questions, queries, concerns, literally anything? Okay, I see here, Sean, a laptop with a password login, will that be sufficient? Absolutely not. Even if you are using encryption, passwords can be brute forced. And if you're not using encryption, which is 99% of people, sorry? Okay, Anton wants to say a quick word about that. So yeah, password protected computer is really not as secure as you think. I know this for a fact because what you can do is actually download an entire operating system onto a USB, plug it into a computer, boot into that operating system, and literally clean out all the data from your computer. That password is not going to protect anything. Passwords are the weakest line of defense on a computer. 99% of people don't use encryption on their computers because it slows it down a lot. Even with encryption, I would be cautious because passwords can be brute forced. As long as you just have a very powerful computer, it can try millions and millions and millions of password combinations a second until it eventually hits the right one. And if you're using very simple phrases, it'll get there very quickly. Angela, what about sending documents through WhatsApp? Is that safe? I would only consider it safe if it's the only option that's available to you. I would prefer that documents are sent via email. And as long as you are deleting the document as soon as you've sent it off from whoever's sending it, and whoever's receiving it is also deleting that document as soon as they've put that document where it needs to be. That's the only way I would consider it safe. Remember, WhatsApp does backup, and those backups are not encrypted, which means they can be breached. Look, this is again a pretty advanced attack, but it is a possibility. Any other questions?
And Sean, through with our email, and or if we use Outlook or Gmail, G Suite or something, would that not count as a second layer? You've got on your laptop, you've got password protection, and then you've got a password for your email, or?
Yeah, it's a second layer of protection, but remember, it's another vulnerability because if they get into your computer, first of all, you shouldn't be using automatic login anything. You shouldn't even be using Gmail or any other email that's not your property COSA email to deal with business like this. There should be no business conducted on your personal email. That's the first thing.
No, yeah, through the property COSA Gmail, I mean email address, but through the Outlook platform. Yeah.
Okay, so Outlook, I don't believe requires you to enter a password every single time you log on, unless there's something special set up that way. Even if it did, remember that that password could also be breached, especially if you're doing what most people do and using the same password for literally all their devices, all their accounts, everything. That is one of the worst practices you can do.
Okay.
Remember, passwords, they're the most basic line of defense, but they're really, really not that strong. There are so many ways to breach passwords and get into accounts. Two-factor authentication, if you can enable it, is another layer, but even that can be gotten away with. If someone wants to get into your email accounts, into your devices, there are ways and means to do it, believe me. There's no one-size-fits-all security solution.
Sorry, Sean, Mark again. So if you use that 10-digit password with a mix between symbols, numbers, capitals, etc., that should be reasonably effective against your phishing guys, etc. But I agree with you. If a guy really wants to get in, they can get in.
Oh, look, yeah, they will. What I do personally is my passwords are 128 characters long. It's a bit unnecessary, but they're all stored in a password manager. The longer your passwords are, the more numbers, the more letters, and the more special characters they have, the harder it is to breach. If you're just using basic 8 characters, lowercase, that can be cracked within a couple of days. In any event, again, don't store any personal data on personal laptops, your personal email accounts, anything like that. Because even if your password is breached, you can have a very bad day, but you're not going to put property COSA and you're not going to put yourself as an estate agent at risk. Anyone
Sean.
else? Yeah, sure thing, Mike.
Anybody else? Well, Sean, that was incredibly informative. Thank you very much. And Michael, thank you for the suggestion. And please, if you've got any ideas of what you want us to research and get to, please let us know, because it's a pleasure, because, you know, we learn as well while researching things like this. So please, it helps us all.
Absolutely. If you think of anything else you want to ask me, you're always welcome to get in contact with me or Kerry. I'm usually quite good at responding to my emails, but it might take me a day or two to do some proper research and get back to you.
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah. One more thing, Sean, Luca, from what sort of password manager would you recommend?
My personal password manager is, sorry, I'm just getting some echo from Anton. My personal password manager that I use is a platform called Bitwarden, because the software is open source and you can even host the password manager yourself if you're really, really techie. I found that it's pretty secure. They've got an iPhone app, an Android app, and then what I do is I generate completely random massive strings and then put them into whatever service I need. It's pretty inconvenient, I'm not going to lie sometimes, but it is one extra layer of security. And remember, this should only be for your personal accounts that you're using. Again, everything that you do for Property Koza, do through their systems. If everybody's doing it through their systems, everybody's compliant, Property Koza is compliant, Anton's not going to get a 10 million rand fine.
Cool, thanks.
Sure.
How's it, guys? Lovely to see your smiling faces. Listen, this is it's a real thing, but I think go back to first principles. If you don't have the paper and you don't have the data, you don't have to protect anything. So please don't get into high-end FBI, CIA type encryption on your devices. It's completely and utterly unnecessary. If somebody gives you a copy of their ID, tell them to make a photograph of it and email it to you, email it to Angela and delete it. Your life will be easier. And anyway, it'll reduce your risk and your pain and suffering, because passwords are a pain. Now, the other thing is, if you want to know how, just go onto Google and go to how secure is my password and type in a password that looks like yours. Don't type in your password, but type in your regular password. Mine is my son's date of birth. So if you know Zach's date of birth, you can own me. So type in your date of birth and it'll tell you how many seconds it will take an average hacker to hack your system. So passwords are nonsense. It doesn't matter. And I've got bad news for Sean. His 128K will only take about a year to crack with the average PC. With a proper PC and a proper will to get it, you'll get it. So it's not, don't get involved in that nonsense. The other thing is, so don't keep data. Please don't keep it. Just get used to not having it and you'll save yourself. If you lose your phone, it becomes irrelevant. You get another phone. You get another laptop. But if you, the problem with POPI is that if you lose your device, and I know you've got data on it, I have to report it as a breach. If you report a breach, it becomes a reportable offense, then it's a major investigation. And if that data is used and you've reported the breach from your PC, they link you. You are it then. You've caused the trouble, even though you might not have. You're opening yourself up to a load of nonsense. The other thing is that printers, our printers in our office are costing 15,000 Rand a month. I don't need an incentive not to have a printer. So I'm telling you now, we haven't got a printer. It's gone. I don't want a printer. Digitize your lives. I've given you the app on your phone to scan. So if you get you don't need to print anything. I will have copies of offers to purchase, copies of mandates at the office. You can collect them. You can print them. Kerry will give them to you. You can get them anywhere. It's not a big. If you just become paperless, it's actually quite easy. And Angela and I learned this lesson in the first 15 days of hard lockdown. We had no access to printers, and we turned our whole business into a digital business in literally a day. It's not hard. You just have to actually do it. We are so used to printing, taking a piece of paper, putting it on my desk. I looked at the paper on my desk after lockdown. I said, I wonder why I printed that. There's piles of it. It's rubbish. Okay, so printing is not the way to go. But thank you very much, Sean and Kerry, for this. It's amazing. Don't panic about POPI, guys. It's not the end of the world. We are doing everything that's compliant, and exactly what Sean said. Because we're using a system that's been designed for a group, we are actually compliant. What we do, though, is as humans, and we always do, we undermine ourselves. So what do? We've got a system, but we use Gmail. We've got a system, but we print it out. So if I don't have a printer at office, then you can't print it out, and then I'm actually helping you. I am helping you. see, and I'm saving myself some money. Okay, so that's me. Who wants to know something?
Thanks, Anton.
Yes, such a relief to get rid of all paper. Yes, Mark, and yeah, never mind that. If you're a green tree hugging, bunny loving, limp wristed, eco-friendly, soy sucking warrior, you will love this
You know me
even
so
more
well.
because we are going to save the Amazon forest. We are
Wine
You know
buying
me so
drinking.
well.
5 boxes of paper a month in our office to print, to put into storage and shred. It is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. And for the first time, the bunny huggers are on your side. The paper is it's ridiculous. Yeah. So thanks, Mark. I agree with you. So
You
go
know me
hug a
so
bunny,
well.
Mark.
Anton.
Go,
Thank
Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, guys, if everything is being done for you, you literally don't even have to lift a finger. I think that's the best news anybody can give you. Right, I see we only have 3 minutes left. Coolio. Everybody, thanks so much for coming. Really fun talking to you. Hope to see you again pretty soon. And go sell. Go sell some houses.
Thanks, guys.